Welcome, everyone. Sorry for a little bit of the late start, but we're excited to have you all with us. My name is Michelle Simasek. I'm a full-time lead faculty member here at UAGC and your host for this session. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and we will be shared with the TLC related materials. Microphones will be muted for the presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. We will be using that. And we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. And now I'm pleased to introduce you to our presenters for this session, Building Support Structures for Adjunct Faculty to Enhance Student Success. Our first presenter is Stephanie Blair. Stephanie is a collegiate associate professor at the University of Maryland Global Campus, or UMGC, where she works in the first year experience supporting students in their transition to becoming college students, as well as reinforcing beneficial learning habits further down in their program. And she has worked online for over 10 years, supporting students and faculty in both first year and information technology courses. She is joined by Marsha Fortney, who is the portfolio director for this first year experience at UMGC. And in addition to supporting adjunct faculty in the first year courses, she manages the virtual orientation program for students and has a background in faculty training. So together, these ladies are going to dive into how to support adjunct faculty to enhance student success, something I know we're all interested in. So Stephanie, I will mute myself and the microphone is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle. So as she said, this is Building Support Structures for Adjunct Faculty to Enhance Student Success. She's already introduced us, so this is just another quick hello from myself and Marsha, and we will dive right into it. So UMGC is a public four-year university. We're part of the University System of Maryland, which means in addition to our regional accreditation, we also have to answer to MHEC, the Maryland Higher Education Commission, along with all of the other universities that are part of the system. We are a minority serving institution. Only about 30% of our student population is white. We have large populations of Black American as well as Hispanic American students, and smaller populations of both Asian Pacific Islander and multiracial students. We're also a military serving institution. About 50% of our students are either active duty military or veteran, and that is in addition to their dependents, so spouses, children, individuals like that. About 58% of our students are low income. This is the number that we know are low income. It may actually be higher than this. This is just the ones we have records for. And about 62% are over the age of 25. This number has actually gone down since the COVID pandemic. We've seen an uptick in the number of students who are traditional age students. But even our 18 to 22-year-olds, for the most part, are working at least part-time, if not full-time as well. Within first year experience, now we are housed in student affairs. We are not part of the academic affairs program, which gives us a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more freedom to try things out that maybe academic affairs wouldn't be able to do. We offer 7 courses right now. 2 are at the graduate level, and those are required courses. So students choose whichever one is appropriate for the program that they're going into. We have 2 required undergraduate level courses, a 3-credit, 8-week course that's kind of how to be a college student, as well as a 1-credit introduction to research class. We also have 3 alternative undergraduate level courses, which are 1-credit kind of elective courses in the career planning, time management area. In the 24-25 academic year, we had 1,740 sections of these 7 courses and over 38,000 individual enrollments. Now, this does count some students twice because we have those 2 undergraduate courses that are both required, but it's still a pretty large population, and we had 469 active faculty. That is in addition to the approximately 200 or so faculty that we have on our bench who are really working for other departments, or they're full-time at the university and they just pop in when we need some extra help. A little bit of background on the subject. There is some research out there about adjunct faculty. Not a dearth of information, but there is some. And what is out there suggests that they struggle to feel belonging at their institutions. And a lot of the research is kind of more traditional schools where they have an on campus area that faculty go to. This lack of belonging is probably felt even more by faculty who are adjuncts at online institutions. And we all know online, that distance can suppress feelings of belonging both for faculty and students. Institutions often provide only the barest minimum of support to adjunct faculty, which leaves them kind of to figure a lot of stuff out on their own. But we also know that adjuncts can have a large impact on student success. We know that the number of adjuncts are growing, the courses that they're teaching is expanding. There's that joke that for every tenure faculty that retires, we hire 3 new adjuncts. And so these are individuals that, despite the lack of support, despite the lack of belonging, can have a huge impact on how successful students are going to be in their classes. And so I will turn it over to Marsha now.
Sure thing. Well, since we are part of student affairs and really driven with student success, and Stephanie talked about how important adjuncts are to student success, we've really made it a priority to help our adjuncts feel embedded. So throughout this presentation, we'll share some quotes that surfaced in that research that was done to prepare for this presentation. And this one here kind of goes along the theme of embedding the person, helping this adjunct feel like they are part of the institution from day one. So that starts with onboarding. We are probably like your institution where there's HR hoops to jump through to do the logistics of the onboarding. All of our new faculty at UMGC go through an initial training. It's called New Faculty Orientation. But this is not a facilitated training. So they have not really had a chance to interact one-on-one with someone in kind of this classroom space. So we kind of take some extra steps and we have them shadow an active class. This class, of course, is taught by one of our rock star faculty, kind of the best of the best. So we have our new faculty shadowing an active class. We also have a partnership with faculty development at UMGC. They have a faculty mentoring program, and we make sure that our faculty, here on the slide it says PACE. PACE is that kind of 8-week first year seminar type of class that is required for all of our students. Those PACE faculty, the more experienced ones, serve as mentors and they mentor the new faculty. This is more formal because it's with faculty development. They kind of have some regular check-ins that take place because those faculty mentors are given a stipend for their mentoring expertise. We also have developed a faculty guide that we share with our faculty pretty much from day one. Stephanie, if you can move forward, there's a screenshot of what that looks like. Stephanie and I built this out in SharePoint, and part of it is because we have so many faculty. I mean, she listed there almost 500 active faculty per session. That's a lot of questions that could come our way, and there's only a couple of us. So to try and mitigate that and to also give our new faculty and all of our adjuncts a sense of, okay, there's a place that's got an answer to this question. Most of the questions are answered somewhere in this faculty guide. So a lot of times when we do answer questions for faculty, we include the link and say like, hey, if this question comes up again, here's where you can find more information about it. So it's probably been 3 years that we've had this guide active, and it really has helped kind of decrease the number of email questions we get from faculty. And I think they appreciate that they're able to kind of self-service and find answers to their questions. We know they work all hours, right? 3 a.m., 6 a.m., noon. So I think they appreciate being able to self-serve. This kind of goes along with that, giving our adjuncts confidence that there is someone in their corner that they can always reach out to, that they're never bothering anyone when they have questions that need answered. So part of the way we help our adjuncts um, boost confidence in their teaching is we provide them with faculty coaches. The faculty coaches are actually adjuncts as well. Some of our best and brightest adjuncts take on additional responsibilities as a faculty coach. They are paid for the extra time, energy, and effort they're putting into that. And some of the things they do are a little more administrative, like they'll check all the sections of the classes to make sure that everything's set up. But when they check that class, they might find something in that class that could use a little bit of coaching. So, for example, they may see that a faculty member posted an intro video. We want all of our faculty to post a video to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about the class. But maybe that intro video is 15 minutes long. Like, we do not want a 15-minute intro video in our classes. And so our faculty coaches will work with our adjuncts one-on-one and talk with them about best practices for an intro video, for example. We also offer continuous training through the Program Hub. The Program Hub is in our learning management system. So I was just in there the other day and I noticed we have kind of different knowledge checks or check your understanding of what is personalized feedback. And so we've built out different self-assessments in there. And sometimes faculty choose to take those, just for fun. There are times though, we kind of use it as a coaching tool and say like, hey, there's this self-assessment here. I really want you to take it. We have periodic training as well. We host express talks because we know adjuncts are busy. So these are less than 30 minutes. Usually they're about 20-minute compressed meetings where we talk about one very specific topic. We have some workshops that we host that are maybe a little bit more hands-on. Maybe we're talking to our faculty about a new feature in the LMS that they can use. And we also have kickoff meetings before each term. Again, just to keep our faculty aware, there's nothing more jarring than opening up your classroom and finding out that it looks different, the assignments are different, the discussion topics are different. I think that really reinforces kind of the isolationist feelings that some of our adjuncts may have if we don't tell them about updates that we're making in the classrooms that are going to impact their kind of day-to-day teaching life. So this faculty respondent in some of the research that surfaced talked about collaboration and the need for collaboration, which again can be kind of challenging when you're an adjunct and you may feel a little isolated or disconnected. So here are some of the things that we're doing to increase collaboration between ourselves as kind of administrative leaders and our faculty. We send them Google Forms or Microsoft Forms surveys just to solicit feedback. Maybe we made a change in an assignment and we just want to keep our finger on that and say, hey, that was a pretty big change we made. Like, for example, we're, like many of you, integrating AI literacy into our classes. And so we're curious about how that's going. So we survey our faculty. We also have advisory boards for our adjuncts. They can volunteer to be part of an advisory board that's directly tied to a class. And so they talk more in depth about updates that might be needed in the course. A lot of them are, experts in their field working full time. So they see new research that comes out, or maybe they went to a conference and heard a great speaker. And so we have quarterly meetings with our advisory boards. And then we just have open requests for feedback. I like doing that. I actually just sent a big email out to all of my intro to research faculty. Almost all of them are librarians. So they are very detail-oriented folks. So a lot of times, if there's even just the smallest of issue with a rubric or something about the instructions, if we tweaked a couple words, they think it would help. They have all sorts of ideas. So yeah, I just emailed them all and was like, hey, we're working on the spring models. These things are going to lock soon. If you have any suggestions, send them my way. And I also include my booking link on there because I just like talking to the faculty too. I think that goes a long ways just to set aside 20, 30 minutes to have a conversation with them and get their input so they're heard. It's kind of a lonely thing. I started off my career in online education as an adjunct, and I can definitely attest to that. We really want our faculty to feel like they are plugged in and that we're a fun group and they can get to know us a little bit. So we try to promote some social engagement too. We have an end of the year, kind of a winter social planned with Kahoot games and a virtual escape room and some of these fun things that we do when we're geographically dispersed. There's a faculty symposium, kind of like a mini conference that's happening in the spring where our adjuncts can present. We have Inscribe. This is an online community platform. We use it for our students for online communities, but we also have a community that is exclusively for our first year faculty. That's definitely more social. People share pictures of their pets or their favorite vacation destination or I don't know, some amazing flower they grew in their garden or something like that. So that's a little more lighthearted and fun. And there's also opportunities for our faculty to come on site. I always call it the mothership in Maryland. I don't live in Maryland, so it's quite an adventure when I get to go there. But we host grad walk. We moved away from a traditional commencement ceremony with the big arena and the keynote speaker. And now we have kind of a 4-day celebration for our graduates. We have homecoming that just wrapped up. So there's virtual and on-site opportunities. And we have these awesome career fairs that are in this virtual platform. And a lot of our adjuncts choose to volunteer to be part of those career fairs. So just ways to get involved with the university that aren't necessarily just first year experience, other ways that they can connect to the community as a whole. Kind of finally, talking about things we do for our faculty, recognition is a big one. There are never enough kudos to go out, and sometimes we don't notice all of the little things that our faculty are doing to help our students be successful. So we're trying to do more. One thing is we have a monthly newsletter where we put a spotlight on some faculty and kind of shine a light on best practices or success stories. We have, again, our faculty coaches who are visiting classrooms and they notice all the good things our faculty are doing. And so they're sending little notes of recognition, recognizing faculty anniversaries. Like we have a faculty member here. I just sent her a little notification award for 20 years of service at UMGC. So recognizing those work anniversaries. We do that usually through Best in Class. Best in Class is a platform that our human resources folks have put together, and it's a way to publicly recognize folks within UMGC. We set aside as a department on Fridays, we call it Positive Power Hour, and have that time blocked off on our calendar. And I hop into Best in Class and, send kudos to university colleagues I've worked with. I usually look at a few reports that we have that will show us who our strong performers are in the classroom potentially, and I'll check their classrooms and send those faculty some kudos. So that positive power hour is a pretty, I don't know, it's like the easiest, most fun hour of my week, right? You're just telling people they're doing a great job. We, of course, have university-wide awards. And we have these 2 new kind of distinctions for our adjunct faculty that I think they find very meaningful. One is an outstanding adjunct designation. So if you're kind of like the top 10% of the top 10% with various metrics that are to be discussed further, then they can get this outstanding adjunct designation, and that comes with $1,000 kind of award for their great performance. And then we also offer annual agreements to our adjuncts, so they can feel like there's some stability in their workload and the amount of credits that they will be teaching throughout the academic year. So that's just kind of an agreement that says we want our best faculty in front of our students as much as possible, and you're one of our best faculty. We are making a commitment to staffing you for a certain number of courses or a certain number of credits. And our adjuncts have really embraced getting an annual agreement from us.
All right, so now it is time to plan. So in addition to talking about everything that UMGC does, we want you guys to start thinking about what you can do at your institutions. So let's do a quick poll. Let me copy this link and share it in the chat real quick so you can click on it. But think about all of the things that we have already talked about, like all of the activities, the events, the supports that we've offered. What are some things that you might want to do at your campus? And so we are going to move from this into actually kind of tentatively planning an event, coming up with an organizational list to prepare for one. So think about what you might want to do and cast your vote. Oh, I hope I set this up correctly. Well, so Michelle said that she could only pick one, but there are a few she would like to try. I will say, can I refresh this? It's thinking. That today we're going to focus on one, but hopefully the tools and the process that we have today can help you with all of the other events that you guys would love to try. So it looks like recognition and social engagement tend to be the top ones. I think those are the most fun. So, and you know, the most enjoyable for everyone involved. So I can't say I'm surprised. But we're going to use a project charter. I put it in the chat a little bit further up. So if you want to play along, feel free to download that and open that up. So a project charter, if you're not familiar with the concept, is one unified document that outlines a specific program or project. Basically, it is all of the information that you need to kind of move forward with being successful in a given program. It also can serve as a marketing tool when trying to gain support. I think we all know that if we're going to spend time and money on something, like our boss and our boss's boss, and probably their boss too, wants to know about what we're doing. And so if you have a really good project charter, you can provide that to them and say, this is what we're doing. This is why we want to do it. Please give us the resources to do so. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I tend to be super detailed when I do them because I don't want there to be any gray areas. I don't want there to be any question about what is happening. That way it's easier for me, it's easier for the people I'm marketing it to, and it's easier for those of us who are trying to actually implement whatever the project is. Your institution may have templates available. The one that I shared in here is one that I created myself. The one that, so at UMGC, we have an EPMO. It's an Enterprise Project Management Office. They have their own version of this that is not organized the way that my brain works. So I only use that when I'm doing enterprise level projects. If I'm doing little things like our our winter social or our symposium that we're having in the spring, I use this one because this is how my brain works. So open up your project charter, and we're just going to kind of go through it and take a little bit of time on each screen to identify what these boxes are, as well as give you guys the opportunity to kind of jot down some notes so that you can then flesh this out a little bit later and move forward on whatever project it is that you decide you want to do. So first is goals. You're going to want to identify some SMART goals that you expect to come out of your program. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is not the best example of a SMART goal, but it was kind of what my brain came up with right away. In order to reduce turnover in adjunct faculty, we hope to hold semesterly meetings to welcome them back to the institution. You can have obviously more than one SMART goal. Our winter social, for example, yes, it's an opportunity for us to have our faculty engage and be social with each other, but it's also an opportunity for us to share out the wins of our department at that meeting so that everybody knows like how awesome we as a team of, 500 people were this past year. You'll also identify your deliverables that are related to the program. So this can be handouts, it can be poll questions, it can be the manual, the faculty guide that we created, that is a deliverable. Just having the meeting is a deliverable, like setting it up in Zoom, that is a deliverable that you would need for a semesterly kickoff, for example. And then list your reasons. So why are you aiming to have this program? So this is going to be similar to your SMART goals, but it sort of fleshes out the background beyond just the stated goal. Like, okay, you want to have this meeting to reduce faculty turnover. Why? Why do you think that this meeting would do it? Why do you want to reduce faculty turnover? Maybe you don't like your faculty and you want them to leave. Hopefully that's not the case, but it is what it is. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or so so that we can kind of stay on track and get back to our regularly scheduled time. But take some notes, identify some of these things. I know in the project charter, the very first box is actually your executive summary. You will fill that out last. We're not really going to go over it today, but that's really just a summary of what everything else says to kind of introduce to whoever you're marketing to. This is what the rest of this document is about. Please read through it. And if you haven't, please note there is a chat and Marsha is currently answering questions. So feel free to ask. I'm also sort of keeping an eye on it as I give you time to fill these out. All right, so as we move through the project charter, you'll see that you need to identify benefits, costs, and risks. And so your benefits, you want to identify what benefits you expect to see as a result of the program. Obviously, you're going to want to focus on the tangible benefits, the hard numbers, the actual money, whatever it is, because that's what's going to sell it to leadership. But it is important to recognize that there are likely going to be intangible and immeasurable benefits. And so, for example, measuring belonging is a real challenge to measure. Like it's something that, in the literature, we talk about all the time how hard it is to actually measure belonging. And so increased belonging may be a benefit. It's just not a tangible one. That doesn't mean you shouldn't put it on there. You should absolutely show whoever's looking at this that, yeah, here's the hard numbers. Here's, the money we stand to make or whatever it is. But there's also these other benefits that you should know about before you say yay or nay to this. Same goes with costs. What are the costs going to be that are associated with this program? Consider the financial costs. I need to buy this new software or I need to hire this new person, but also think about the time and human costs. So any amount of time that you're going to be spending working on this is time that you're not going to be spending on something else. And they pay your salary. So that is an indirect financial cost that is going to be associated with this program. And so you don't necessarily need to put it down as X dollars of my salary will go towards this. Put it down as X hours of my time will go towards this. But make sure that that cost is factored in when you're trying to sell this. And then finally, identify any risks that might slow or completely block your program from reaching its full potential. So there is another type of document related to project management out there called a risk mitigation plan. And we're not going to do that today. But once you identify your risks after you have filled out the rest of your charter, you will sit down and figure out how to handle all of those risks. Some of them you will be able to get rid of them completely. You'll be able, if it's a person who, may not have time, but you need their support, talking to them, having a conversation, figuring out how to get their time associated with your project can be an easy risk to deal with. It might be something that you can kind of reduce the impact of the risk. You can mitigate it a little bit, but not completely get rid of it. And then there are some that you're just going to have to accept. There are going to be, say it's a person at the institution that says no to everything you want to do. Like you're just going to have to accept that that person exists and work around them. Hopefully that's not the case, but we all know that there are situations like that. So I'm going to give you a minute to fill out these boxes, jot down some notes about your benefits, costs, and risks. All right, and we will round out the project charter with our scope, our team, and our metrics. So the scope of your project is basically what belongs as part of this project and what doesn't. So we call that scope, what is in scope and what is out of scope. And it's important to identify at the very beginning what is considered in scope and what is not, because this will help you limit what we call scope creep later on. So I think we've all seen scope creep where you're working on some project, some event, whatever it might be, and people keep coming to you and saying, oh, can we add this? Oh, can we add this? Oh, can we add this other thing? And all of a sudden, the project that was only supposed to take you like 2 hours is now going to take you 2 weeks because you have all of these extra things that you now need to do. And so when you fill out a project charter and you identify what is in scope and what is not, that can help you to later on say, when someone comes to you and says, hey, can we add this? You can be like, no, not this one, but in the future we can do another project where we do cover that. So, for example, we've been doing these faculty workshops. And so what is in scope is just related to that individual workshop. Like each workshop we're treating as its own project. And so if someone comes in and says, oh, hey, can we add this subject to it? Well, no, that's not part of the scope of this particular project, but we can do a workshop on that next spring or next summer. And so it helps you to limit your scope creep so that you're not suddenly drowning in a project that wasn't supposed to be that big. And identifying clearly what is not in scope can really help you to avoid that because it's easy enough to say what is in scope. But you're always going to have someone who says, oh, well, if you just slide this in this little way, like I could totally argue to have this be in scope. But if you clearly say, no, that's not in scope from the beginning, you can just point to the charter and be like, no, I'm sorry, but no. And it can help move the project forward and stay on time and on budget. Identify your team. who at your institution should be included in this project and how much should each of them be included in the project. So in the team box, you'll see several different roles. The team leader is really going to be you. Like, you're going to be the one spearheading it. Your sponsor, though, that's going to be the person who is kind of the high up that approves it, and you have their backing to actually do whatever it is you want to do. But you do want to consider how much each person should be included. So for example, my boss's boss likes to know generally what projects I'm working on. But if I included him on every single email about every single project, he might kill me, because the man already has a billion emails going to his inbox. All he needs to know is it working? Is it moving in the right direction? And is there a problem I can help you solve? Beyond that, he doesn't need to know the details. He doesn't want to know the details. And so figure out, are they someone that needs to be on every email? Do they need a weekly update? Do they just need an update at major milestones for your project? Because that is how you keep them informed, but also don't frustrate them so that they don't want to do any support for you again in the future. And then finally, identify your key success metrics. You want to identify those kind of at the beginning, because you want to know where you are now as well as where you are after the project. If your goal is to reduce faculty turnover, you need to know how much faculty turnover you have right now, so that when the project is over and you reevaluate your faculty turnover, you know, A, whether there has been improvement, and B, how much improvement. Because that will tell you how to move forward. If you don't know how much faculty turnover you have right now, and you do this project, okay, well, our faculty turnover is now this, but is that better? Is that worse? Is it worth, continuing on with this project? Is it worth doing another kickoff meeting or whatever it is? And so figure out those numbers now. Obviously, like we said, it's really hard to kind of identify the intangibles, but for anything tangible, figure out your numbers now and at the end of the project. And so while you finish that up, we have one last quote from the literature. The lack of recognition, the lack of pecuniary reward, the lack of oversight, lack of engagement, the lack of collaboration, lack of pretty much everything makes it such a challenge. And so at UMGC, we are working, especially in our FYE program, we are working really hard to address kind of all of this, to really support our faculty and make sure that they have everything that they need to successfully support our students. And so now, as you continue filling that out, feel free to ask any questions. I know we threw a lot at you today.
I'll jump in with one question that came to mind. You guys mentioned the idea of having adjunct faculty, like peer mentoring adjunct faculty and popping into the classrooms, and that was a paid role. Is that a stipend, or how does that work? And how did you get that approved, and when did you start that?
Sure. So are you asking about mentors or coaches?
I think the coaches, when you
Okay.
mentioned they're paired with another, because right now we have full-time faculty that kind of do this role with our adjunct faculty, but I'm curious how you're kind of having them do it with each other.
Yeah, state institution, you guys can probably relate, have all of these weird HR things. So they cannot be teaching while they are coaching, and they are issued a manual activity pay contract. So it's essentially like being a contractor for a specified amount of time. We have them start 2 weeks prior to the start of a session, so they can help with classroom readiness checks and all of that good stuff. And then they work 1 week after the session ends. So they're 11-week contracts for our 8-week courses. And so, yeah, we were able to work with HR and get this designation for a faculty coach. So they go under a manual activity pay contract.
Thank you. For everybody, if you have questions, feel free to come off or unmute or put it in the chat. I also just threw in the link. We are asking that you vote for your favorite sessions and to give feedback. So the link to do that for this specific session is in the chat. And thank you so much, Stephanie and Marsha. This really hits home for a lot of us because we're always looking for ways to kind of bring our associate faculty in to the fold and keep everyone connected, understanding they also have full-time obligations outside of our university. So we really appreciate it. And thank you to our audience for participating. We really enjoyed this session. Keep checking the agenda for more great sessions through the rest of today. Thank you so much, ladies. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.